I'm Derrick R Kearney. Welcome to Shamanic Innovations. I thought today would be a good day to talk about picking a starting point. It's kind of weird that I'm sitting here right now in my bedroom with a tablet in my hand and a pair of headphones covering me, staring at a button that says start, just so that I can begin talking. And I've been doing this for some time, this is really ready. And it's been a lot to actually get up to this point here. Just getting the headphone where I can talk and getting the program on the tablet and getting even topics and getting the ideas. We don't really find a lot of times that we are, really at any sort of level. We just are continuously pushing. And I think instead, one thing that we have to do is we need to take little moments where we can figure out the points that we're at. It's important for us to, realize that, yes, there is going to be an end game in sight, but there's also a beginning. And that each day we're allowed to have a beginning. A new beginning can come up each day, each minute, each hour, every moment that you are still alive, you are allowed a new beginning. So, it becomes kind of a thing of, making that into being a beginning, making that into being a starting point. Because what has to happen right now for a lot of us is change. I know myself personally, I'm a person of having a lot of energy, having a lot of fiery Aries energy. Aries are people who, we need to go. And I can say that, I've been someone who maybe hasn't gone as much. I've been kind of in a stagnation point. Which is partly why I wanted to start this podcast here, so that I would have a reason to go. It's very easy for people to a lot of times get wrapped up in the daily and lose their sources of inspiration, be it art, be it music, be it work, be it whatever that you do that actually truly inspires you. Not, the thing that you do just to pass time. Maybe you're a wrestling fan, which I'm a wrestling fan, so, don't take this as a slight, but maybe you're a wrestling fan because it's something that you can do at home to pass time. Okay? Maybe you are, involved with, a local group or whatever, but you're not really involved. You're just kind of there. You're not like the president of the group. You're not running the show because this is what drives you. You're just a member of the group because, you know what, I need something to do with my Tuesday afternoons. You're going to a job because, you know what, I need something to do with my Tuesday afternoons. You're in a relationship because I need something to do with my Tuesday afternoon. If you're basically just doing this thing for your Tuesday afternoons, this is the part where you're in your stagnation mode at. And this is the part where you need to find a starting point. I'm going to say, nothing against Tuesday afternoons. I love Tuesday afternoons and I love all those things that I just mentioned, but and I say a lot of this stuff, everything that I usually say, what I'm finding with this here is the podcast, I can say this into the mirror because I'm saying a lot of this to me. So, Derrick, hey, listen, if you're at a point where you are not moving forward, make that your starting point so that you can move forward. Draw a line in the sand if you need to. And this is where you're going to start at so that you can move forward. Yeah. Yes, I just had that conversation staring in a mirror with myself, but, for everybody listening. But yes, Derrick, this is your starting point. Move forward, okay? It's a good thing to say, it's January if you're into any sort of stuff. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to tell you that January is a great month for beginnings. It's the first month of the year, and everyone's excited about things. There's, all these different astrological whatevers that happen. People will say, oh, yeah, and great, I'll listen along because there's usually a lot of great information involved in that. I can give you a whole list of people available on YouTube that I follow along with. But, they'll all tell you this is the time to move forward. If you look at anything really going on with life, this is usually when people would normally start looking at, doing their taxes. I'm not sure right now, United States. We'll talk about that in February, but for January, this is normally when you're talking about, hey, what can I do, as far as, getting my taxes straight, how have I got my savings straight, how am I getting my job straight, how am I I've done my review, let's, talk with that. This is normally the time where you start to think about moving forward. You want to press through the winter months here, you've gotten past Christmas, you got past the holidays, and now everyone's back in the gym, If you notice, I look outside the windows and people are now running again everywhere outside of my purple curtains from, everybody's back on their holiday because they gotta do that jog in. Yeah, so you're moving forward. So, this is a time where we need to do that. And I think that, it's something to be said here that, I believe we should all try to do these things, as a unit together and all try to, make progress together, and just making this into a better existence, making this collectively a better world. And that change, it's something that happens globally, but it's also something that happens locally. It's something that happens like, it's cool when everyone votes in, big elections. Like voting in the presidential election is cool. Voting in your local mayor election is really sexy, or your local school board, or your local, sheriff, whatever your locally, getting involved in your local area, like where you live. Well, how, yeah, complain about the trash across the, you know, universe is great. Clean up the trash at your house is even better. What's this all like? Sweep around your own front door or something, Like, hey, getting yourself, tidied up. I mean, if you go into the stores right now, I'm sure if you head in like Dollar General or Kmart or do they even have Kmart's anymore? Walmart, whatever it's called. Um, but you head into stores right now, and they're gonna be like, "Hey, listen, we have all this cleaning stuff because we know spring cleaning's coming up." And if you live in Florida, it's already spring. I mean, I'm in shorts and a t-shirt. I know that people see me walking around at night, and I have the jacket and hoodie and which I'm gonna get into that. It's like, hey, am I even allowed to walk around in a jacket and hoodie at night as a black male? But whatever, I am. It's because I'm walking a dog, and the dog's cute. So, but we, I'm in shorts and t-shirt right now. It's like 70 degrees in Florida. Thankfully, spring's back, so we're moving forward. And as we move forward here, it's important for us to do this. Not only as a whole, but as individuals, because we do it as individuals, and that's how we do it as a whole. You know, it's not really when you point at everyone else and say all of you need to, what's to say? If everyone says that you're an asshole, then maybe you're an asshole. So you need to not be an asshole and move forward. However you need to take that. This, by the way, is not going to be a G-rated podcast. You know, PG 13. I'll go PG 13. You might catch a word or two, but yeah. Anyway, so as we move forward, as we find our starting point here in life, as we do this, we have to find this starting point with everything. As we make that decision, hey, I'm going to be a better person, to myself financially. I'm going to, save more. Hey, I went through last year. I made my, whatever, and I've made my, lessons and learned things. It's interesting. It's like, it's January right now, so we've obviously just got out of December. We obviously just got out of Christmas. And one of my favorite, if you wouldn't even call it favorite Christmas things, in time, has been the tale of Ebenezer Scrooge. I'm a person who I've always rooted for the bad guys. So, safe to say, Star Wars, yeah, I rooted for Darth Vader, okay? Purple Rain, I'm going to go ahead and admit it, I was actually rooting for Morris Day at the time. And I still watch that movie to this day, and I'm like, doing the bird. And yeah, we'll discuss that all later also. Okay, I'm rooting for the bad guys, okay? Nature Boy Ric Flair. That's all I gotta say. Done. Okay, I'm rooting for the bad guys. So, as I say that, yeah, give me The Grinch and Ebenezer Scrooge. Okay, and I just watched, like I do pretty much every year, the musical version. I think it's the 1972 Albert Finney version of Scrooge. It's colorized. It's the musical. You know, everyone, and I like it because it is the musical. It's great music. I laughed, I cried. I literally did. Anyone knows me knows that I'm probably laughing and crying during half my life. So, great. And as you get to know me, folks, this is, as I said, the starting point. You're going to find out how much I laugh and cry. So, Ebenezer Scrooge, I watched the movie. And after the movie, I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is great. So, we never really thought about it. What happens next? Like, can we go back to, can we see Scrooge, 2 years later, since he did change, what happened? Or 2 days later, even, we saw the bad version when he died, but, we see everybody happy when he died and he actually gave away his money. And did we see Tiny Tim, live a couple years? And now Tiny Tim's, still Tiny Tim. I guess, yeah, but, what, hey, can we see, a little bit of, can we get, a sequel? It's probably the only movie I can think of, probably the only story I can think of, really, where I've ever been like, maybe we do need a sequel to this, Because, it becomes a starting point. And I think about that really, in our lives now, as I see how we've come out of this season. And, for some of us, it was a season to give to things that aren't really that nice. I'm looking at you, folks. But for some of us, it was a season to, be kind to others and, give ourselves. And, it was a season to make, hey, I'm going to New Year's, we make resolutions. As I said, we're going to work out, we're going to save, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Starting points. Well, we have to have those. We have to make it, and we have to set that as our line so that we can all move forward. These are the things that, you have to say here. Because obviously the reverse, if Scrooge had stepped out of his, house that day and was like, oh, yeah, I get it. Woohoo, thank you, ghost. I see it. Oh, yeah, Christmas is cool. And, and then somebody threw a snowball at him like, hey, screw you, old man, He probably would have not have, yeah. So it's a starting point. We have to have these starting points in our lives. So as I find myself at, 14 minutes of yelling into my tablet here, and I don't know even, I'm going to end up just publishing this just because it sounds fun. I want you all to know that this is a starting point. I don't really know what Shamanic Innovations is going to be. I kind of just picked the name because, it's something that's spoken to me. Again, something we'll get into. But, there's a lot of parts with this that have kind of spoken to me in recent months. Probably have spoken to me throughout my lifetime, and only in these last few years or whatever of a journey that I've been on that I'll be sharing with you all here. Has it become something where it's and it's kind of like let's say it's a trail of breadcrumbs. And you may think of it as a trail of breadcrumbs, out, or even a trail of breadcrumbs in. Am I going down the rabbit hole? Is this? We'll get into the mental aspect of life also. Yes, and we're gonna have some fun. And yeah, so hope everyone enjoys. This has been the starting point here. Derrick Kearney with Shamanic Innovations. Thank you. I'm becoming someone who I need to find my voice. I need to figure a way to actually speak up about the things that have gone on in my life. It's part of, just something that I've learned while on this journey here. This has been a journey of self-examination that I've been on for the past few years. Kind of starting, I would say, 2015, 2014, 2015, 2014 maybe. I found myself in a situation really where I was just running a lot, and doing a lot of things. And, I was working two jobs actually at this time, I believe 2014. Busy, I got myself on this notion that I had to remain busy. I needed money and I didn't have enough for everything, and I needed to work and overwork, and I was busy. And, I was getting rid of, I remember at this time, I wasn't really, collecting a lot of things. I was actually, selling a lot of things, getting rid of a lot of things. It was kind of paring down my life. It was just a crazy time. And I had this sort of sense that at some point your life's going to flip. Because I'd seen my life flip a couple times before. Most notably, my life had actually just flipped a few years before that, where I found myself, if you had asked me 10 years before, 10 years ago where I'd be, okay, 10 years ago, that was 2008. I had just started dating my ex-wife at that time. So, yeah, that's just kind of, a bit of the explanation. So, I'd already seen my life kind of flip a few times, but I had this sort of thought of, wow, something's kind of going to happen here. And sure enough, 2016 came along and it happened. And I think that, for a lot of us, it happened. I think myself personally, there's some event that year that has put me in a sort of panicked state, over the amount of time, just because of what we see on a daily basis. And, it's something that I think I've come to realize now, has been, in a sense, an awakening. And it's a bit weird, I found myself actually earlier watching a TED Talk. The TED Talk mentioned, this lady who, her and her, I think I'd actually watched it before. It was kind of weird that my YouTube even brought it back up today. But in the TED Talk, the lady mentioned how her and her husband had tried to conceive and they couldn't conceive, and they were so heartbroken about never being able to have children that depressed them. And I'm empathizing with this because, this is a part of life. It's how, and the whole topic of it was, the whole talk of the TED Talk was how, that sort of depression, how that sort of low led to an awakening, spiritually for her. And I think that, when people, when you mention the word spiritual awakening, everyone kind of steps back a little bit because of what can come next out of the person's mouth. Because spiritual can mean now a whole list of things. Are you saying spiritual as in ghost? Or are you saying spiritual as in churches? Are you saying spiritual as in voodoo? Are you saying spiritual as in crystals? What type of spiritual are we talking here? What shop you want to go to, basically, is when, people kind of open up whenever you say spiritual. And she had her own perspective on this. What I thought was interesting, she gave a very twofold perspective. One was, hey, she's doing the whole, her perspective was kind of the Christian one, by the way, if you don't want to look it up. But that was one aspect. But also, hey, I am a scientist and I am a psychologist and, technical aspect, technical look of things, which technical can be spiritual. Do not let anyone fool you. Your mind is, just as up there as anything else. So if you are a brainiac, and that is your deal, think of that as your spiritual. If you're only the person who, you have to have that's your spiritual. Great. But what she talked about was how, this kind of led her, this bad thing that was happening where they were not able to conceive a child originally, how, the pain of that led her, to open up, and then, that helped out the rest of her life there. Obviously enough where she's talking about this in front of people. So, the point of it being is that, this is what happens with a lot of us. This is what's happened with me. I've gone through my bit of, if we want to call it depression, if we want to call it PTSD, if we want to call it anxiety. I am not a fan of labels, but these are the popular ones that have been out there. So I've gone through my bits here. And one thing is, I went actually just recently, I did a sweat lodge ceremony over, in the area. And the reason why I wanted to do this is because I needed to at least find a starting point for dealing with, some of the fears that I've had in my life in recent months, years, some of the trauma, some of the anguish, the 2016, let's call it. We find ourselves a lot of times where we are either running or we're hurt. We're going or we're hurt. We are moving or we're hurt. And it's amazing, like, especially for us, able-bodied people, working people, whatever, we're expected to be up and working 24/7. Your phone's supposed to always have notifications, with every single thing buzzing on it all the time, and You're expected to always be going, always be ready, work, 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 go, 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 do, do, do. And the only way that you are out from expected to being able to go constantly is if you are hurt, if you are sick, if you are physically unable to do it. Now, today we are starting to care about the mental aspect, and this is good because, you know what, maybe you're mentally unable to handle something. But even with that said, you're unable to do it. Unless you are unable to do this, you are expected to do it. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? No, I think I'm right about this. Unless you're able to do it, you're expected to do it. You're expected to go unless you're unable to go. It doesn't matter if you're an athlete, if you're a soldier, if you're whatever, if basically you're all soldiers, you're all athletes, you're expected to go. Go. Unless you are physically unable to go horse, you're expected to go. Whoosh, go. Okay? So, now that we've said this, what happens when you are hurt? Okay? Well, if I go to the example of the horse, they normally just take you out back and shoot you because you're a racehorse or a workhorse or something. And how dare you slow down man's progress? Well, yeah. That's pretty mean. You shouldn't do that. Humans, stop doing that. But in normal aspects, you're expected to heal. If something's physically wrong, like, if you break your leg, I've had a broken foot actually. I remember from my childhood years, bone in my foot broke, and it was a summer in a cast, and, you're expected to just sit and heal. That's what you do for the summer. Or your appendix needs to come out. You're expected to heal. Gallbladder, you're expected to heal. I had kidney stones actually removed a couple years back. And it's funny. It's funny as I say that. I had kidney stones removed a couple years back. It's funny looking back recently on Facebook has the thing where you can look back on your memories, and you look back and you're like, oh wow, I was getting ready for kidney stone surgery. Nice. I remember what that looked like. Yeah. That's before I moved to that all water diet. Mm-hmm. Yippers. So, it's funny looking back on those things, but, I can remember that time 2 years ago having the surgery, and, it's not really that. I kind of lost track of what was going on after the dude said he was sticking something up inside and was going to yank this thing out, and he showed me a picture of it and had spikes on there, and he was like, yeah, you were supposed to yeah, and, I'm having like my super mom friends who are like, yeah, I've given birth to 8 kids all in a row with no drugs, whatever, telling me that the kidney stone was worse than the 8 kids. I'm looking at her like, okay. Yeah. Doc, can you come and zip zip? Yeah. 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 So, yeah. So, and I remember that, it's a healing process. As with everything, there's a healing process involved in these, in any sort of thing that happens in your life. When you were hurt, when you were sick, when you were depressed, even when there's a healing process that has to happen. If you have trauma in your life, there's a healing process that has to happen. And that's something I'm going to talk with here is, healing with trauma, because, this is the healing process that I've been under. This is the healing process that I've, had to deal with here. I've been someone who has, dealt with my share of it. And I found myself at the end of 2016 where I had a lot of those traumas basically not only come to full fold in every aspect. Like if I looked around, everywhere I saw was, bad. If I looked personally, I saw bad. If I looked professionally, I saw bad. If I looked to family, I saw bad. If I looked to friends, I saw bad. If I looked home, I saw bad. It's kind of funny. I had an instance actually at one point in 2016 where I had applied for a job at a place in one of the local towns there. It's a Domino's Pizza. I was actually at home for, it was going to be a couple months and visiting mom, type of deal. And I figured I wanted to, pass the time, have a little, spare change, whatever. So I'm still busy. You gotta keep busy. You gotta keep busy. Your life is flipping. You're in the car that's flipping, doing the little turning wheel. You gotta keep, you're in that hamster wheel. You gotta keep busy. You gotta keep those wheels turning. You gotta keep busy. So, yeah, I'm gonna go get a part-time job while, you know, and I remember actually, it was weird. Like the guy, has me come in, for an interview, and I show up with a resume, and he looks at me like, I haven't seen a resume in 20 years. What the hell? You want to work in management? I was like, no, I just want to deliver pizzas and wash some dishes up at the end night, I'm going to be here a couple months, Diddy, Don't get too attached. you know, I just want some spare change here, buddy, But, I probably would have gotten attached, and that's just how I am, hey, I'm going to show up with a resume in hand, to wash dishes and deliver pizzas for you because I believe that I should be, my resume actually, it's kind of weird. My resume has like one job on it. I'm still gonna break it to you just to deliver pizzas because I'm that type of person. If I'm showing up for doing that for 2 months, for a side gig or whatever, I'm still that. Yeah, you know. But yeah, yeah. So I'm sitting there. Obviously, he's gonna hire me, but he's gonna interview me first. And he asked me at this point in time. I remember, these words kind of haunted me here. He asked me to name off for him who were the three most important people in my life. And oh my goodness. It haunted me because what were the three most important things? It was like, what were the three most important things in your life right now? Or the three most important people? I think he said it as three people, but it might have been things. And I was like, well, it haunts you because it's like, it becomes almost this thing of, well, what are the three things that I can take away from you if I'm going to take away from you anything this year? Because the things that I named were all things that were taken away from me. It was kind of weird, at the time. It was like, yeah, my mom, even though she's sick, she's probably on her way out of here, but that's why I'm in town. And, I don't really have a second. Probably say my dog, but he actually just, suffered injury himself. He's not going to last pretty much longer. Yes, music. And, we're like sitting outside. He's like, music? Like, yeah, actually, I pointed to my car. There's a Prince symbol on my car. The music of Prince. I just wanted to say that because this was in March of 2016. And, within a month, actually, within a month, two of those three things were that conversation. So, and to say like, and as we talked more, I let him know that the fourth thing was just, kind of, resistance and freedom. In a sense, I felt that that was gone also. Um, I felt that I lost a lot with 2016. Um, yeah, for some, like, freedom. Some of us, we felt that we lost family, friendships. You know, we saw our perception basically change overnight. The people that we thought we'd known for, you know, decades, maybe. Now suddenly you're in Facebook arguments, never vowing to never speak again, knowing you're gonna have awkward Thanksgiving with this person. you know, and it's not just and I know, like, as I say it, I'm trying to make it sound like it was just election that, yes, a lot of people riled up with election, but there are also personal reasons why we've had this sort of cosmic crunch here. A lot of just negative energy. I know myself personally. There's a lot of negativity and all the bad that I went through that had nothing to do with the 2016 general election. And yeah, there are probably enough Facebook arguments that I'd seen, around and since, but just and it's one of these things where we look around us and we see a lot of that sort of doom and gloom. Um, I take some responsibility for doom and gloom, and what I do is my matrix life, my source of income life, my matrix life per se. Um, and I think that we all can now hopefully start to see where we've had our bits of, hey, how have we contributed to this sort of deal. I think for myself personally, one, obviously, the source of income does push along different things, but more importantly, I think that it's the source of, or the deposit of time. We're a deposit of this time. Even while at the source of income, I personally deposit a lot of the time online. In a depressive thing, which most people do. You're online, you're just kind of scrolling through Facebook. Who hasn't done it? I've spent a lot of time doing it. You scroll, you like, you comment, okay, you're just passing your time. It's become so exhausting for us all. I know it's become exhausting for me over time, and it's been something that, I've used as just kind of a way to kind of hide from, bits of what's been happening in my life. I think Facebook became a thing for me probably around 2012, 2000, yeah, I'll say 2012, because at that time I was getting divorced, so it was easy to develop a Facebook life. You know, in fact, I remember making the comment, which should probably still be in my profile somewhere. Everyone has a face and a Facebook. You all have a picture and an avatar. You have that life, and then you have the digital, and it's kind of like, all right, that's cool. Um, and it's easy to get lost in that because you have these screens that you can get lost into. Um, yeah, so I spent enough time, and I spend a lot of my time off screen also, and also using the screen to record things. But hey, and I mean, I like to go back because there's videos that I can check out and see. Oh, I was here and I did this, and this concert here and this event, and we went on this trip and all that. And this stuff has been cool to look back on and see. But, I think that myself personally, I know that, there's been that sort of spiraling into, well, if there's nothing else to do, I'm going to just sit here and let the fingers do the walking, as I used to say with the phone book, except I'm not really walking, to find a business. I'm just walking to pass time. And, I think a lot of us find ourselves in this sort of, avenue here because of, you know, what we've gone through and what we are going through. Because we're searching for some sort of like answer, we're searching for what's at the end. I mean, if you've read a book, if you've been like, read a book and you've maybe read like a suspense book or whatever, let's say there's an ending. So, you're reading that suspense book, you're like, all right, let me at least get to the ending part here, or magazine or whatever, you're watching a movie, a suspense movie, it's like, all right, let me at least get to a good part. Even like TV shows, people, binge watch TV shows, and they'll stop at like the middle, of an episode because it's a good stopping point. And, the writers write it like that, so you have a good stopping point, So, we look for these good stopping points a lot of times. But Facebook, there's no real good stopping point. You're just kind of, all right, okay, well, as soon as I find a meme that I might connect with today, people have actually heard me say this live to them. Yeah, when I find a meme I connect with today, or if I find an article or a song or whatever, something's got to connect with me. I personally, I became someone who, my thought was, hey, I need to collect because I'm going to know all these different places to get memes from. I need to collect so many different memes, so many so that I have enough to where I can share them on a daily basis with everyone else that I know. And I'm going to set up a place where I can share all my memes, and there'll be different types because, I have different things going on and different people that collect memes from. I'm not just collecting one or two, but I'll be able to go in and share them all on a daily basis. And I really hadn't had the sort of way to share these memes, I guess I could have shared them all to my personal Facebook page. And I think when I first started to get into doing this, it was like I did this and somebody complained. And it was like, oh no, if I do this on my personal page, I'll end up with like no friends. I know what I'll do. I'll start a different page to do it. So I went and started a different page to do it. And somehow, instead of it becoming no friends, it became a lot more people. For like all over the world. It was cool. And once in a while somebody might complain and they'd be like, all right, cool, you got a complaint? Cool. Bring a complaint to me and, I'll handle it. Unfortunately, this is not how Facebook works nowadays. People don't exactly come to you with their complaints. They instead go to Facebook, and then Facebook throws you in Facebook jail, and does it really without asking you. It's kind of bad. But whatever. The point of that being is, it really has opened up where, hey, this is something that I've done out of a depressive state. This is something that I've done because I've needed to kind of pass time out of this sort of needing to just, keep going. And it's kind of like if you're a runner. I'm not a runner, by the way. That broken foot that I had as a kid, and just running doesn't really seem that cool. So I'm not a runner. But I would imagine if you're a runner, your shoes need to be tied. Because I know as somebody who just walks around in shoes, if my shoes aren't tied, it sucks. So I'd imagine if you're running and your shoes are untied, it sucks. Like, twice as bad. So imagine you're running and your shoes are untied. And you just keep running anyway. Like, fuck your shoes being untied, you're just going to keep running. You know, they do really start flopping around. You know, your foot's all flopped out, but you're just like, fuck it. Told you, this ain't a G to 8 podcast, okay? So bleep it. You just, keep running. At some point, you almost need to, stop. Tie that shoe. Because you know what you can do when you stop and tie that shoe? You can make a new starting point. Hey, you know what? From this point forward, my shoes are tied and I can keep running. Now, maybe there are some exceptions, If you're in like the, 50-yard dash and your shoe comes untied, well, you know what? Maybe Nike should have made you some better shoes. It's the Olympics. Come on, I get it, If somebody's got a gun, bleep those shoes. I'll buy a new pair. I can run barefoot. I'm a hippie like that. All right. If somebody's got a gun, you run. And bleep those shoes if you need to. But under most conditions, you're just running for, jogging purposes, whatever. You can make a new starting point. So stop. Tie your shoes. Make a new starting point. Okay? Stop in your life. Tie your shoes and make a new starting point so that you can begin your journey. But instead, I found myself at this point of, man, I hit 2016 and it hit me and it literally probably could have killed me. It emotionally killed me. I had lost my mother and pretty much, with that I lost my family. Just, family death and different ideas and, parts of the family out and, things, whatever. I lost, where I was living was, totally changed. Actually, I just had like a lot going on at this point in time here. And like with everything in our lives, it does build up inside of us. And stress is something that will kill you. If it doesn't mentally bleep you up, doesn't mentally fuck you up, okay, then it will physically, this is where you have heart attacks, this is where you have strokes, this is where you have kidney stones. And not to say the kidney stone would have killed me, but, it was pretty bleeping painful. So, this is this thing that kind of built up from all of the different, losses that I suffered in 2000, all the different stresses that I suffered, and, the poor diets that I've been under, just stress and more stress and more stress and more stress. And at the end of 2016, before, having this stone, before having this stone, I actually found a bit of family that I could speak with at that time. They'd approached me about doing some internal work and cleansing, and I came with her. Sat through one of her ceremonies. It was great, and it was what I needed at that time to just kind of put away a lot of the pain in the mental, and emotional pain, at least enough to like lock it away as being its own chapter, if you want to say together. And I was also at, when I actually showed up for the ceremonies, when I found out that I had the stone. I agreed to the ceremony, then I found out that I had the stone, then I went to the ceremony anyway with the stone, and because they tell you you're supposed to pass it, so you're like, all right, screw it, I'm just going to live life and whatever, just drink a lot of water. And it was good because this ceremony did open me up to the idea of drinking water, as if it's going out of style, basically. And it's something that I kind of brought with me out of 2016 for a myriad of reasons. But while in the ceremony here, I went and did the ceremony with it, and I came home and I still had my stone, and then had to come out of this, and I decided that I was going to look at not only this kidney stone here, who I so nicely named George Saquon. You know, I never actually had a son, so this would be my son, George Saquon, the baby boy. Aw. But I decided to not only look at this experience as being kind of a good healing, but instead of just being, okay, this is painful, this is bad, how dare this happen to me, look at this as being you know what, I'm going to heal from this. This is going to be my starting point. This is going to be the point where I begin to make a journey towards healing, and I'm going to lay out the things in my life that need to be healed, be they, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, sexual, financial, whatever, you know, being the good man that, I should be, that I would want to be, being the best human being possible. Brick by brick, I'm going to lay out this plan of healing for myself. And, that's what I've done basically over the last 2 years. I've been very fortunate in that I've had a decompression zone to, use to heal in. Decompression zone is the name that I'm using for this house. So yeah, I've been very fortunate in that, and I've been fortunate to have a good cast of characters joining me in this journey. As far as like you joining me in the story here. Just a little bit of a thing, I never really want to say that there's a couple things that I never really want to say that I am. People have tried to throw labels on me for years, and I've always kind of ignored it. I remember having an uncle who actually passed last past year, and every time I saw him, and he passed from, I think it was Alzheimer's or dementia, something along those lines. I'll probably end up having it later. Not a blood uncle though, but still love him. But I remember he would ask me, in the later years, hey, when are you going to start preaching? When are you going to start preaching? I'm like, Dad, I'm not a preacher. Okay. Let's see, what else can I say? Okay, so I'm not a preacher. I'm not a lover. I am a lover. Okay, but I'm not a shaman. I'm not a preacher. I am not a financial expert. I'm not a journalist. And as I say these things, I'm about to tell you, okay, well, I'm about to preach to you here. I'm about to give you my shamanistic, stories or whatever. And I'll tell you, a story within journalism. Because in a sense, we all carry with us a journal. We all carry with us a story that we're telling. We all have some sort of thing that we are jotting down, some sort of thing that we're, leaving behind for future generations. Be it, I'm not a writer, but we all have a book that we're writing. Okay? And, yeah, I'm not a writer, but, yeah, I got some pages, typed out, whatever. Maybe I'll put them together, whatever. I'm not a filmmaker, but, some things. I'm not a photographer, but I have some pictures I've shot, whatever. I'm not a musician. I don't play a piano, but there's a piano in my living room. Whatever. And even saying this here becomes a thing of everything that we say that we're not are things that we should be saying we are. So, hi, I'm a shaman. I'm a preacher. I'm a journalist. I play piano. I'm a writer. I'm a photographer. Did I leave anything out? I'm a comedian. These are the things that we should be saying that we are. Things that we right now say that we aren't. And You know, I'm a healer because I'm healing. I'm a healer, you know. So, hey, during this time, I found myself, you know, at the end of 2016, beginning 2017, on this path towards healing. My path has taken me through a few different ways. One is that it's taken me through a bit of ritual, you know, just trying to get myself onto somewhat of, you know, an easier pattern, a better sleep pattern. You know, sleep is important for me in the sense that I work crazy hours. I work usually until midnight each night. I find myself usually after work where, hey, I need to go walk the dog, whatever. And, you know, because of this, I don't really want to get a lot of stuff done. So sleep is important, that I get, you know, a good amount of sleep each night, that, you know, I get some movement in me. I've gotten into doing Qigong actually over the past year and a half. And something that I've actually experimented with over the past few years, but I've really gotten into the past year and a half. Just a schedule of, hey, you know what? Within the first hour that I'm up, you know, and I have to give myself, you know, at least that hour, just because I know my life, something's going to come up. But within that first hour, I'm going to, you know, I need to get up, I need to walk the dog, I need to go outside, do my Qigong, you know, I need to get something to eat, you know, get some water, get a shot of apple cider vinegar, you know, whatever I'm doing with my routine, you know, getting that going. You know, so that's been something. You know, I mean, and I'm not someone. I'm not going to tell you, obviously, you know, the best diet choices ever. As we go along, maybe I'll learn them. But you know, I'll be the first to admit that, hey, I'm gonna roll through the fast food drive-through for a double burger, no cheese though, no cheese. And there has been little things that I have done. You know, no cheese I think does help on the burgers, and lots of water I think has helped. You know, versus sodas and things of that nature. I've pretty much gone to a all water liquid. You know, there are some exceptions. There's some nights with tea, or mornings with, you know, hot tea or whatever. But for the most part, we're doing water. And I think this is important because, you know, water is the lifeblood. Water is what we have. You know, without water, we have nothing. I try to drink a lot of it each day, and I encourage you to do the same. So, you know, and I can say this like, I get it. Well, you know, I need to be, you know, sharp and whatever so that I can work, you know, early hours. No, you don't. You need to drink water. Drink some water. Mind your business. There are things, you know, yes, if you can have, you know, if coffee works with your system, you know, please. But, you know, where I'm saying to, you know, cut back on these things is where we become the folks of excess, where we are having and I know I've done it, coffee flavored energy drinks. I'm raising the hand right now because I've been the first one to slam to and think that I was going to rock star through my day. No, this is where we need to stop. You know, we need to cut back. You know, if you need to have one cup of tea, great, have one cup of tea. And you know, I can say this even, you know, doing overnight shifts, a cup of tea because you woke up, you know, get a cup of black tea, but of water. You know, what's going to wake your body up most is having water. One, what's going to wake you up second, you know, Having fresh things in you, fresh greens, fresh juices, water. Yeah, that's the main thing right there is, having a good diet of water coming into you. And that's something that I really didn't have before. I would drink water, yeah, but it was mostly because, I don't feel like paying for anything else at home, so I'll have some water, you know, so I can have something between the beer and the energy drink and the Pedialyte. Yeah, really, Derek? Pedialyte? You're just drinking like vodka and Pedialyte, and you're calling this life? No, Derek, go drink some water. Okay, so it became a thing for me, and don't get me wrong. Yeah, I'm not saying that you need to totally teetotal yourself away through life. Um, I will still enjoy an adult beverage from time to time, but it's not all the time. And really, just give me water. You know, I'm a big proponent of it. Making those sort of choices there, making the choices to get movement into your life there. As I said, Qigong is a good thing for that. Yoga is good for that. You know, just going for walks is good for that. Getting out in nature, and you know, get a pet and walk your pet around, whatever. But as I say these things here, another big proponent becomes taking time to look inwardly, taking time to look internally, and find these things that you can change. Find out what's going on inside of your head and what's going on inside of your heart that you can change. Not just the things that are easy for you to, point out, dirty everywhere else, but the things that are, actually hidden inside of you. And find, the areas that are kind of have some darkness in them. Find the areas that, do have some dust in them. Find the areas where, there is some hurt involved. Figure out what's going on inside of you. It was really good for me to have the 2016 experience, I would say. Because in that time, 2017, needing to heal myself, needing to put my body back together, put my mind back together, um, you know, going out, making friends again, trying to, what do I introduce myself as now? How do I deal with people now? Where will I live? What will I do? What will I say? Can I even, you know, in trying to get back into somewhat of a normal life, let's say. And, this has been a real big thing for me. 2017 was a real big year of, hey, what's going on with Derek where he is not really, how is he going to adjust to 2006, how's he going to handle it? And it's the question that, I'm sure everyone is asked, how's he going to handle it? You know, I'm sure there are people who follow along on Facebook because they know that at some point, hey, that car is kind of spinning over there. Maybe it's going to catch on fire. Let's break out a camera phone and record this for posterity. They can see that, it's going towards those train tracks. There's got to be a train that's going to hit it at some point here. It's got a big boom. It's going to happen. At least that's what they think they can see. Because that's what you're trained to see, and that's what you want to see. You want to see fire. Ooh, fire! But, I think that there are also people who, genuinely want to go and, okay, let's stop the car from spinning. Let's pull the guy out. Let's save the day here, whatever. And it's kind of deciding which one do you want to be. Do you want to look? Do you want to help? And then there, as I say, there are the people who are in the car and they're spinning. And for myself personally, I've found myself, and spent some time in the car spinning. And it's very rare, but, if you know how to do it, I guess, you can stop the car from spinning. You can get out. And I'm not saying that I, know this, but, if you realize that the car is spinning, if you realize that, things are going, you can kind of hit pause on, on simulator here. And you can kind of look and see, well, let's back up and see when exactly did we fall off the track so that we know where to get back on track. You can hit that rewind button, you can, rewind back the tape, and you can figure out what's going on. You can draw a new line in the sand so you know where to start your healing from. And, this is something that I've been doing over these last couple years is, putting together things in my life where I can draw this line in the sand. And, begin a healing process. And where, it's something where I can actually just start a part to grow. The people that, know, have seen, I use different, growth and change, and brick by brick, and, what was the great little saying there? We rise by lifting others, moving up, moving forward, making things better, finding an area to heal from, finding forgiveness in ourselves and forgiveness in others so that we can become better human beings. This has been, the thing that I've been on for the last couple of years here. And I really kindly, think that to discovering this sort of way of life, be it, and I maybe I'm kind of, as I say, I'm very new to this idea, so people will have to help me with the definitions, and I do not like labels, but when someone says to me a shaman, at least this is what I've discovered, in my sort of research on this and, pathways and everything. The shaman becomes the person who, they don't really live with the norms of the town. They don't really do the normal society thing. Like, they're not your normal doctor, if that makes sense. They're not who you go see when you have a broken bone or when you have, blood or what, they're not that type of doctor there. They're not, the normal worker bee. They're not the whatever. Instead, they're the person who you go to see when there's something inside of you that needs a sense of healing. Or something, it's kind of like the psychiatrist in a sense, except our psychiatrists now prescribe drugs that get in the way of this sort of healing. But we won't talk about that right now. But, it's something where I think that we become this thing of, we look at the shaman as being the person that we can go to for healing within our lives. The person that we can go into, and this person is going to help us find, the things within ourselves even, and they're going to help us find things within, the nature and within the world. It's what the priest should be, your preacher, your pastor, what they should be. I know as I say this, there's, a lot of big scandal, going on everywhere, and, you got priests who are touching kids, and preachers who are touching wives, and touching husbands, and touching husbands and wives, and whatever, touching money, and, again, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not that, but I guess I am. So, what you should be is someone who, you're here to help what I've always said with the preacher is, the first person the preacher needs to save is himself. If you're a preacher, you ain't saving your own soul, then you're in the wrong business. So, we become these people, going back to this idea of the shaman here. The shaman is this person who brings out the best in, it's an innovator. The innovator is the person who brings out the best in, the team. I go to my corporate matrix job, and they give out an innovator award, I think, with every quarter. And it's not the employee of the quarter. I think the employee of the quarter gets like cash, and the innovator's just like a high five. I don't know. I've never won either. Maybe, though. But what I would imagine the innovator being is someone who kind of helps the team along. Yeah. They motivate the team. They give the team a new perspective so that the team can go, innovate. It's like the magician. Yeah, innovate. You're the inventor. You innovate. Yeah. So, shaman, you innovate. Yeah, there we go. Shamanic Innovations. There's your name. So, when I think of, as I said, when I think of a shaman, I think of someone who, they inspire this sort of healing within, people. And obviously, everyone has to heal somehow. And, I have to heal, you have to heal, whatever. Even whoever, everyone goes through some sort of a healing, and everyone goes through some sort of, process. There's some sort of hero's journey involved. Everyone, even your Buddha did. Buddha went and sat under a tree. Buddha went and sat under a tree for like 20 years. I mean, people get all like, yeah, Christ just went and walked the woods for 3 years. Buddha went and did a tree for 20 years. You tell me who's hardcore. But I think they're both hardcore. And you know what? They both needed that time as their time of healing. And everyone needs some sort of time of healing. You need a starting point for healing. You need a time of healing. And, I'm not saying that, I'm not going to dumb them both down to say they're just shamans. But in a way, we all are. Anyone who's hurt, if you're someone who's hurt, you've been, if you notice, like, you have these people that do the domestic violence type of things. And this happens a lot. Bad thing happens to person. They are beat up, or they lose a loved one, they're shot, war, whatever. The person goes through some sort of transformation. They write a book. Boom, boom, boom. That transformation time is your time of healing. It is that simple. And I'm not saying that every single one of you need to go out and write a book, because you're already writing your own story. You're already a journalist. You're already writing, shooting your own film. You're already telling your own tale. This is already, even if you don't ever put pen to paper, you are already doing this. Okay? What I'm saying is that you have to have your time of healing. Yes. What you have to realize is at some point you've had the bad happen. The bad's already happened. 2016 is, what are we in, 2019 now? Yeah, goodbye. You had the kidney stone removed. You had, that bad has happened. And now, you've been through this period of healing where, you can begin to rise up. Okay? And, it's the thought of, if you're in recovery, let's say you have that broken bone or whatever. Let's say the broken bone in your foot. All right. Broken leg. Let's go broken leg. While your leg's broken, you're not really able to move it. And it's in the cast, and you're just kind of laying there, you're like, ugh. But it heals. It's healing. And then at some point, you're able to move it. And then at some point, you're able to walk around on it. And then at some point, finally, they come and they remove the cast, and you're able to really walk around on it. Yeah, that's when you're like healed. It's like, when you go write that book, when you're able to take the cast off. And, and I can say for myself that I'm not, the cast is not off yet. I'm not writing the book. I'm not totally healed, There are still some points, there are still some moments, that will get to me. But I'm at that point where, well, maybe if you want to take the full cast off, but you have like a little slimmer version, or, yeah, well, you know what? Yeah, I gotta keep it wrapped up for another couple weeks? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I still gotta do this sort of thing, It's healing, I'm at the point where it's like, hey, you know what? I got the cast on, but at least it's a boot. The thing I have to say here with starting points is that you have to find that starting point and know that you could have that at any point in time. I mean, this right now can be your starting point. Your starting point can happen each day. Every day that you wake up is a new starting point. It does not matter what you are trying to get past, what you're trying to overcome, what you're trying to move forward from, what you're trying to, break free from. It doesn't matter if it's an illness, a sickness, a mental issue, an oppressive nature, a traumatic event. Each day is a new starting point. It doesn't matter, okay? If you are trying to, if you've screwed up something with your family, your friends, if you find yourself alone, you hit a new starting point each and every day. And each and every moment is really a new starting point. Right now, this here is a new starting point. Okay, you pause right now. That's a new starting point. This is a new starting point. Okay, we're going to count down right here, us together. We're going to have a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This right here, right now, is a new starting point for you and I, for everyone in our journey. Because